Hey everyone, let's talk about compression and the one thing that might be killing your mixes without you even realizing it. And spoiler alert, it's not about the compressor settings you're using, but rather it's about your mindset before you ever even listen to the song in the first place. So let's dive in. I have 3 young kids and they watch a show called Bubble Guppies, and in the show they have a bunch of songs with teachable life lessons, and one of them is about crossing the street, and they sing the phrase, "Stop, look, and listen." It's honestly pretty catchy, but because of this song, every time my kids and I walk up to an intersection or a street, we all yell, "Stop, look, and listen." This mindset while approaching the street is helpful because it reminds our kids of the danger we could put ourselves into if we rush across the street mindlessly without paying attention to our surroundings. And hear me out as I connect the dots for why I brought this up in the first place. Stop, look, and listen is a mindset that can be directly applied to mixing. Every time we start a new mix, we first need to stop before we import our template or our go-to compression settings. We need to look for the vision of the song, and we need to listen and gain context before we make any mixing decisions. One common problem for us as mixers is that we can get caught up in using the same exact techniques, the same exact settings over and over, and so we end up applying these techniques before we've ever really listened to the song or even thought about what kind of feel or vibe the artist is going for. So let me put it in context. On one hand, you have a rock song with drums, bass, big electric guitars, and on the other hand, you have an arrangement with a wide dynamic range like an orchestral piece. Would you use the same amount of compression for both styles? Most of you probably said no, but your mixes say otherwise. You're running quickly towards the street without paying attention. In other words, you're caught in a cycle of mindlessly applying the same amount of gain reduction on the same instruments for every mix, regardless of the genre or the artistic vision for the track. So here's our first key takeaway. Overcompression is a problem. Compression is one of the most powerful tools in our mixing arsenal. It can glue a mix together, tame wild transients, or bring out subtle details, but it's a double-edged sword. When you overcompress, you're not just controlling dynamics, but you could be squashing the life or the feeling out of your mix. Have you ever listened to a track, or maybe your own, and thought, why does this feel flat? That's often because the dynamics, or the rise and fall of energy, have been ironed down and flattened by too much compression. So how do you know if you're overcompressing? Well, here are a few signs. Number 1, lack of punch. Drums, especially kicks and snares, lose their impact. And depending on the genre, guitars can lose their bounce or their groove as well. Sign number 2, loss of dynamics. Everything feels like it's the same volume, there are no quiet parts, and there are no loud parts. Sign number 3, fatigue. This is when your ears get tired quickly when listening to the mix. If you've ever been to a live concert, you've noticed that there are designated moments throughout the show where the artist will play a stripped down set or will talk to the crowd without the band playing. And the reason for these moments is to reset the dynamic range. A great artist or performer knows that dynamics play a vital role in taking the listener on a journey, rebuilding the dynamic range, and to recapture the crowd's interest and engagement. Not to mention, it also helps prevent ear fatigue, especially over a long duration of time. And the same should be true of your mixes. One test that I like to do is to mute the compressor on a track momentarily. If the track suddenly feels alive again, you've probably gone too far with the gain reduction. And so from here, try lessening the amount of gain reduction for that specific track. For example, if you were applying 10 decibels of reduction, try instead applying 5 decibels of reduction, and so on. Music is about emotion, and emotion lives in the dynamics. So think about your favorite songs. They're not just loud, they breathe. The quiet moments feel intimate, and the loud moments feel exhilarating. Don't let overcompression rob your mix of that energy. Think about your favorite meal. For me, it's steak. You can't truly appreciate the magic of a perfectly seasoned, juicy, and tender steak unless you've also tasted a dry, overcooked piece of meat that is lifeless. The contrast is what makes the good ones stand out. So let your mixes stand out by allowing the dynamic range of the song to make an impact. The dynamic range can actually be its own instrument if done right. Remember, before you start each mix session, stop, look, and listen. Serve the song. If your mix needs to breathe, let it breathe. And don't squash the life out of it. If your song requires heavy compression, then don't shy away from that either. Train and develop your ear so that you can learn to trust them when making big mix decisions. This one mindset, if applied, can radically transform your mixes both live and in the studio. Hey, if you liked this video, check out this video that YouTube recommended and let me know if they nailed it, alright? Until next time.